Okay, and I'm back. So, yesterday was N7 Day, for those of you who don't know. It's kind of a big deal for those of us who are fans of Mass Effect, and I decided, you know what, how about to celebrate, N7 Day? I know today's November 8th, if it was yesterday, it still counts. Celebrate N7 Day. How about if we break down the rankings of the best sci-fi video games of all time? Welcome to the newest episode of SDW.
Super Dario World!
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, I went to a wedding this weekend and it was a lot of fun. I considered breaking down the wedding stuff, but I figured, they're already going to do it in the show in the morning, so it's not really that big of a deal for me to do the whole breakdown about that. But I guess, I can talk about it a little, because I did notice a few, let's say, cultural differences, for weddings. I haven't been to that many American weddings in my life. I've mostly gone to Mexican ones, and it was a completely different affair. But before I get into that, let me just give you a quick reminder that any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can find me live on YouTube and on Twitch at 10 a.m. at Super Dario World. If you want to just be a part of the chat, join me there. It's very easy. It'll just appear here on the video. You can talk between each other. It doesn't matter. I participate. It's the easiest way for you to contact me, because again, it's live, it's directly, and I can just answer you in the moment. If you want to send me something privately, you can always do that on Instagram at Super Dario World or at Dario SDW. That's a different way for you to contact me, but it takes me longer to answer because I get lazy with social media because I hate it. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about Thors Wedding before I get into this whole sci-fi ranking stuff, which is also interesting and I also really like. But just to get the quick wedding thing out of the way, yeah. Oh, wrong screen. I hate it when this happens. Stupid computer. I had issues with my computer earlier today. I was moving. Let's say it did not want to work. It's a very annoying thing that it was just not listening to me. And so since it wasn't listening to me, I had to do a little bit of, let's say, arranging stuff. And now I realized that I have to switch everything around. So okay, I guess there you go. There you go. Now you can see it, I guess. Did it work? I don't know. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Fixed. Okay, so talk a little bit about Thors Wedding here. Thors Wedding was interesting. Like I said, it was mostly like cultural stuff. I got there a little bit. It started really early and it ended early for what I'm used to. Like, I'm used to a Mexican wedding where there's an event the night before, and then there's an event the next day. So the tornaboda and the wedding goes till, like, I don't know, 5 a.m. and at like 3 a.m. there's tacos that arrive and stuff. So I expected something kind of like that. Turns out very different. A lot more low-key affair. Fun. I had a lot of fun. The food was great. Very different. Pizza and baked ziti. The baked ziti was phenomenal. They had a salad that it looked good, but it had strawberries in it, and I'm allergic to it. So I was like, whoa. Almost got me there. They almost took me out and I didn't even realize it. Like, what is this thing that I don't know what it is, but it tastes delicious, and then all of a sudden, oh, dead. So I got lucky there, I guess, but it was fun. Like I said, most of the stories that are probably going to be shared are on the show, so I'm not going to get too deep into it. I found it funny. It's just one of those. It was a completely different cultural experience for me, which was, again, fun. It was enjoyable. I had a great time. The couple looked extremely happy, which is the most important thing, and I wish them the best. And yeah, I made it into the show's table. We were in the cinnamon table. We were a chicken table, but whatever. Doesn't matter. I'm surprised I made the cut. Happy to be there. Happy to be participating. So there you go. For those of you who are wondering. Also, I realized something very interesting, and here's like a quick question for you guys. Do you want me to talk a little bit, like, because I've considered doing this. Do you want me to talk like a little bit of sports and stuff? Because I love the NFL. If you guys know, I had my fantasy belt here from when I won my one and only time in the fantasy league at the radio station, where I beat former NFL players and fantasy experts and stuff, and sports experts. And so I was like, I've had people want to talk to me about that who asked me, but I don't know, like, in general, just let me know. Again, you know where to contact me. But after this weekend, I realized kind of like, you know what? Like, I was really wanting to get into it, but then I realized, you know what? I don't know shit about fuck. I don't know shit about fuck when it comes to the fucking NFL, because I saw nothing that happened this weekend go down. I saw nothing of it happening. Like, the Broncos got rid of their best player. Boom. Turns out they win. The Rams, who were, on fire before that, just completely got embarrassed by the Titans, who just lost their best player. So, I don't know shit about fuck. The Bengals, what are they? Who the fuck knows? Are they a good team or the bad team? Are the Browns a good team or they're a bad team? Who the fuck knows? Are the Vikings any good, really? Because they're playing close games, but they're losers. I don't know. I don't know shit about fuck. So it'd be fun though. It'd be like an interesting thing, you know. It'd be a nice change of pace, but whatever. Let me know what you guys think. I'm considering it, but that's completely different. Because right now this season's weird, and there's a lot of drama in it, like the Aaron Rodgers thing, the Urban Meyer thing. There's the Ruggs getting arrested thing. There's so much drama going on, and I'm like, should I? But I always come back to, you know what? I don't know shit about fuck anymore. I don't. I'm not doing that well. Well, our fantasy league is kind of like, because I'm in a couple of leagues. One, I'm in first place. The other one, I'm like, everybody's like dead even. Everybody's like one game from being, you know, at the playoffs or being taken out of the playoffs. So again, I don't know shit about fuck anymore. I just don't. I don't. But anyway, let's get into these the sci-fi ranks. Wait, I'm getting a message here from somebody. Otto, why don't you just, you know, message me here? Why are you sending me a text? Oh, okay, gotcha. All right, it's completely something unrelated. You know what? I'm just gonna turn my phone around. I'm gonna ignore it because that was very unprofessional of me. I'm sorry. So let's talk about the rankings of the best video games of all, the best sci-fi video games of all time. Now, for those of you who missed a little bit at the beginning, yesterday was N7 Day, and N7 Day is associated with the video game Mass Effect because the main character from the video game basically uses an N7 armor. It's a Stalin armor, and that's the name of it. It's called N7. In fact, the main character is right here in this little collage. You can see him. Let me see. Where are you? Where are you, Shepard? See, you can see that N7 right there. Hopefully you can see it. Anyway, so it's honestly, it's one of my favorite video games of all time. I love it. I love the franchise. It's great. But where would it rank in the best sci-fi video games of all time? And the competition is actually pretty stiff. And if you think about it, there's a lot of big names. Just look at this picture alone here. And then there's other video games who people would not necessarily consider sci-fi that should be. Let's say, for example, The Last of Us. Would you consider The Last of Us to be sci-fi? Maybe, in a way, because it is. It doesn't follow the regular space tropes. A lot of people think sci-fi, they think space, but it could also be, you know, something like a biological weapon gets released here, or a pandemic and stuff like that. Like Resident Evil. Would you consider Resident Evil to be sci-fi? Kind of not. I think it's closer to fantasy. And then there's other video games who people consider to be sci-fi, but I'm like, that seems closer to fantasy. So these rankings are actually kind of difficult. To me, I've talked about this before. The difference between sci-fi and fantasy is that sci-fi has rules set up in their world, and they follow those rules to the T. So you can't break the rules of the world. So it might be that the world you're living in does not follow necessarily the same rules as our world, but they follow the rules of their world to a T. Fantasy, you can just break whatever rule you want because, you know, magic. So that would be the big difference here. And if you think about it, The Last of Us, they have pretty strict rules, and they follow them to a T. They explain how everything happens. There's logic. There's everything to it. It just, you know, it doesn't feel like a sci-fi game because, well, it's set kind of like in contemporary times. The weapons that they use, they're contemporary. They're not futuristic. So honestly, at first I was shocked that certain games did not make it into the list because it's not my list, and I was surprised at games that did. So anyway. Again, this is not my list. Afterwards, at the end, you know, I like breaking down certain rankings, and then at the end, I'll give you my opinion on them or which ones should have been higher. Am I a little hot? I don't know, because I hear myself popping a lot. And anyway, it doesn't matter. So let's get into it. This is the ranking of the 20 best sci-fi games of all time, and number 20. I did not expect this because it's relatively new, and it didn't make as big of a splash as I expected it would. But we have Alien Isolation. So, Alien Isolation is a fantastic game. I've talked about this game several times on my podcast, and basically it's the Alien franchise. You're the daughter of Lieutenant is she Captain Ripley? I don't know. You're the daughter of Ripley, and you are basically alone in a ship, and there's an alien there, you know, xenomorph, and you're trying to survive. It is phenomenal. Well, it's Ellen Ripley, and the daughter's Amanda Ripley. I'm sorry. I think it's still Lieutenant. Whatever, it doesn't matter. So, it's a fantastic premise, and the thing about this game that actually, you know, stuck with me is how terrified I felt, because the whole game you're basically just running away from one big monster, right? But it's a monster that freaking that spills acid blood. So even if you hurt it, it's hurting you. It's a fantastic, and also you're in space. So if the acid breaks the hull of the spaceship, you're kind of dead also, because you'll be sucked into the vacuum of space. It's a fantastic premise because it's one of the greatest monsters of all time. And they didn't try to make it like a wild shooter thing. You actually feel powerless. You actually feel like you got to use your brains to survive more than bronze, which is great for a horror game. And so I loved it. I'm not a big horror game guy. I'm not a big suspense game guy because I don't enjoy, torturing myself that way. But I love this whole experience. And you actually feel like you're in the world of the movie, which is not, it's something that video games fail in a lot. It's not easy to make an adaptation of a movie into a video game, but here they did a completely different story, but they still gave you the same feel. So I thought it was a great job. I'm surprised that it actually made it into the top 20 because, again, there's so many video games out there, but apparently it's getting some kind of respect, which I appreciate. Next, number 19, we have XCOM 2. Now, XCOM 2 is a turn-based tactical gameplay game. Basically, it means that it's turn-based, and it's kind of like Pokemon, but you actually have to move around geographically. It's a lot of fun. I've played it a couple times. It's very the word, I guess, would be unforgiving. It does not give a shit about fuck, and so it'll be brutal with you. It's very difficult. It's a lot of fun. You can spend hours building up to something and then just completely get obliterated. It's and just completely lose all your units that you've had before. Again, it's brutal, and so it's fun that way. Would I put it in the rankings? Definitely. XCOM 1 versus XCOM 2. The sequels are hard to match, but as long as the franchise in there, it should be good, right? And who knows, maybe maybe XCOM 1 will be there. So we'll see. Number 18, we have Borderlands 2. Now, here is one that if I have to pick a Borderlands game, I'm gonna go with the original one, the OG. Just cause it's the first one. But here's the one where they introduced the villain. What's his name? Handsome Jack. And Handsome Jack is hysterical. He's just hysterical as a villain. But I like the heroes of the first one first one better. So I'm a little bit torn. This is a first-person co-op game, which again, it's great. Any co-op game is fun because you get to go through the adventure with a friend. The only thing that Borderlands 2 has that completely just totally obliterates Borderlands 1 just out of the water, completely destroys it, is that the ending for Borderlands 1 sucks. It sucks. It's terrible. It's disgustingly bad. They had to make a DLC with a different ending, but still it's cheating. DLC ending doesn't count. You need to have the actual ending in game. And yeah, it's just terrible. So okay, I get why Borderlands 2 might be above it in this list. I can just tell you, Borderlands 1 is not on this list. All right, so I get why Borderlands 2 might be above it because it has a better villain and the ending's better. But I don't know, gameplay wise and all that stuff, I felt like, I don't know, the first one just holds a special place in my heart, maybe. Number 17, Control. Now, I'll be totally honest with you guys, I never played this game. I actually never even heard about this game. So it's a shocker to me, but I can read you what the author of this ranking said about the game. Talk about being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Jessie Faden only wanted to rescue her brother from a mysterious organization known as the Federal Bureau of Control. Unfortunately, the moment she arrives, a deadly supernatural force known as the Hiss overtakes the Bureau's headquarters, the oldest house, and kills its director. Luckily, Jessie has what it takes to take on the role of director, though she does so hesitantly. I guess it's a mystery, intrigue, otherworldly game, and so I don't see why this is sci-fi. To me, this sounds more like fantasy, but whatever. Let's move on. Again, I don't have much to say because I didn't play it. Number 16, EVE Online. This is from CCP Games. Here you can immerse yourself in a space-based MMORPG that sends you across more than 6,000 star systems, where the best of the best will dominate the galaxy and become a formidable force in this player versus player environment. I'm not a massive multiplayer online game guy. It's just never been my thing. So basically this would be the World of Warcraft, but in space. Final Fantasy, but in space. Not into it, not my thing, so I never really played it. So we're moving on to... And also, I don't think MMO should really be on this list. Just saying. Anyway, moving on to FTL. That's Faster Than Light. Would you crack under pressure as the commander of the unluckiest spaceship in the galaxy? There's only one way to find out. In FTL, Faster Than Live, it never seems like luck is on your side with a host of unique challenges ready to present themselves at the most inopportune moments. You'll have to think on the fly to find solutions that will keep you and your crew cruising through space. This sounds a lot like a board game, more than a video game. And looking at it, just looking at it, it looks more like a board game. Actually, it sounds a lot like the Battlestar Galactica board game, which is fantastic. It's a fantastic board game. I highly recommend it. It's the Fantasy Flight version. I don't know if there's another version, but the Fantasy Flight version is fantastic. And so I never played it. I never played this one, but I guess it sounds interesting. I'd rather play the board game. Anyway, number 14, we have Prey. When talking about Prey, you have to keep in mind that you are in 2 games at the same time, separated by 11 years. Though the 2016 Prey was surprisingly a good game, it was the 2017 sleeper from Arcane Studios that we are quite smitten with. I don't understand this. I never really played Prey, but it sounds like it's cheating that you're using 2 games at once. It's a Bethesda game, so I'm assuming it's gonna follow the Bethesda formula. Whatever. Again, alien invaders aren't the only thing strange about the space station. When Morgan Yu joins TranStar research team aboard the Talos 1 space station, they find themselves battling a deadly foe with some pretty zany abilities. From the smaller mimic, which is capable of camouflaging into the world by transforming into inanimate objects, to the problematic technopath, which can manipulate Talos tech, the Typhon proves to be quite the pest for Morgan. So, there you go. Again, there's a lot of these games I didn't play. Next, we move on to 13, Titanfall. Titanfall 2, sorry, to be more specific. This one is great. I played the first one, and the second one was just as fun. It didn't. I don't know why it didn't catch on as good. It's a first-person multiplayer shooter, and you are basically in control of a high-powered mech, and you're in battle the whole time. It's fantastic. It's a lot of fun. It's not as big of a deal as you would expect, especially for online stuff. I don't get it. I don't get why, because it's really fun. It's really well made, but all right. Sometimes, things just don't catch on. I don't know why mechs aren't as popular. The mech genre and stuff isn't as popular in the West as it is, like in Asia. But all right, whatever. Number 12, we have Halo 2, which to me is honestly, it's insultingly low. Halo 2 is one of my favorite video games of all time. Actually, I'm currently replaying it with my kid brother. We started replaying it. It was so much fun. I'm replaying all the Halo games just, because I want to get ready for Halo Infinite. And gotta tell you, I felt rusty as fuck. I felt super rusty. I couldn't, quick scope. I couldn't do anything. I felt like I hadn't played it like maybe in a decade. So I felt like really, really shitty. But, I finished Halo 1. And I was like, all right, I did it by myself. I do the heroic. I did it in heroic because I didn't want to go all the way to legendary. Just, to shake all the rust off. But starting Halo 2, and that dual wield is everything. It's everything. You can take out an elite in like 3 seconds. It's fantastic. So, and also actually getting to use the laser sword, actually, getting to steal cars and the vehicles and stuff. It's so much. It's such an upgrade from the first one. The first one, I may like the story a little bit better, but that intro of Master Chief, like permission to leave the ship. Like, what do you want to do, Master Chief? I want to give the Covenant back their bomb. It's super hype. It starts off super hype. The story's great. The gameplay's fantastic. That switcheroo. I remember the first time they did the switcheroo that were actually, this is funny. I almost beat up my mom because of this game. Me and my buddy Andrew, we were waiting all day for the release of. I lived in Mexico at the time, and so we were waiting all day for the video game release because my mom said she was gonna cross over. I had the pre-order, and so my mom was gonna be in the U.S. and she was like, "Oh, I'll pick up the game for you, and I'll bring it over." We waited all fucking day for her to get back home, and she came back like super late, like at 9:10, and we've been waiting all day for Halo 2 to get the day to come out. We wanted to play it, and when she got home, she was like, "Oh yeah, well I'm not giving it to you. It's too late." And we didn't even have school the next day. She's like, "No, I'll just give it to you tomorrow." And me and my buddy Andrew, like honestly, is the closest I've ever been to tackling like an actual person, especially my mother. We were like, all right, we didn't even have words. I still remember. I remember the anger and the look because I think Andrew was behind her and I was on the other side, and he was. I could see it in his mind, calculating like, I think I can take her, and I think Dario would not be mad at this. I think he'd understand. So. fortunately, she did give us the game, and we did play. And I remember the moment that we reached the first time you actually used the Arbiter, and you're like, "Holy shit! Are we an elite? Are we using the elites? This is fucking crazy!" So yeah, super fun game. Great. I don't remember having much of those moments that on that level on another franchise. So to me, Halo 2 should be higher. Should be way higher. And let's move on. Yeah, I got more to say about Halo and stuff, but I don't. Who knows? There might be another Halo here, but whatever. Let's move on to number 11, Mass Effect 2. Now, again, this one is insultingly low. Like, it's not even top 10. Halo 2 is not top 10. Mass Effect 2 is not top 10. And honestly, there's a debate. There could be a debate between Mass Effect 2 and Halo 2 being number one. Like, those two games are phenomenal. And it's the best thing is how much of an upgrade they are from the first game. Mass Effect 2 is maybe 3 to 5 times better than Mass Effect 1. And Mass Effect 1 is a masterpiece in many ways. It just lags and sort of, it has a few dynamics that are a little bit annoying, and Mass Effect took all those away, made it way more fun, made it way easier to play. All the annoying stuff that took forever, they found a way to streamline it. They added other stuff that was also kind of annoying, but in general, it fixed a lot of stuff, particularly in the gameplay, particularly in the shooting part of the game. It's a phenomenal upgrade. By the way, for those of you who don't know, Mass Effect, imagine the world of Starcraft, the world of Star Trek, where basically, it's it's the future. Humanity has joined a council of other alien species because they developed technology to travel fast enough in space, and there's this big machines called the mass relays that were discovered by humans because they were already there by a previous civilization, and humans discovered a way to use those to travel very quickly throughout space, whatever. And so it's fine. You don't have to do that. My kid brother's walking behind me. All right, he's trying to be respectful, whatever. He's being a weirdo. And so it's you meet all these other space races, and it turns out that there's already like a council of space races and stuff, and humanity's trying to find its way in the galaxy, and they're in the middle of humans are pushy, and there's issues with that, and they kind of discover a massive threat to the galaxy. It's a great game. Story-wise, it's fantastic. It's maybe has one of the greatest villains or threats in video game history. The first one more than the second one, because the second one is kind of a build up to the third one in many ways. But it's a great franchise. It's a great game in many ways. I think it should be it should be in the debate for top 3. Maybe even the best one with Halo 2 so far, but not even being in the top 10 is an insult. It's an insult to this franchise because it's a phenomenal franchise. But anyway, moving on. Number 10, Portal 2. I never played this game. I've realized I've never really played a Valve game, but people, they swear by it. I only know that the cake is a lie. That's the only really big thing that I know about this game, and it's a puzzle game basically. I can just read this here for you. Do you like puzzles? Do you like to solve them with friends? How about under the watchful eye of a crazy murder bot that's hell-bent on forcing you to complete a series of impossible tasks? Well, the acclaimed sequel to Portal has it all. So honestly, it kind of sounds like Squid Game in space in many ways. So, and you have a portal gun. So there you go. Moving on to number 9, Bioshock. Now Bioshock, I feel like they're cheating here because they use the special edition one that has the whole collection of all the Bioshock games, which is it's cheating. It's cheating for a list, but it does count as a game, I guess. Great franchise, great story. I'm torn as to whether this actually counts as sci-fi or if it's more fantasy. It's sci-fi? You'd say it's sci-fi? Does it follow the rules of the world and never breaks it? Okay. All right. So my kid brother's played more of this than I have, so I'm going to believe him here. I like the whole steampunk look and vibe, and there's a lot of very interesting lore, and there's a great porn story about the character from the third one, so that's hysterical. We talked about it last Tuesday, so I'm not going to go through the whole story again. But there you go. Again, Bioshock, I get it. I just don't think it's better than Mass Effect or than Halo. Whatever. Moving on. Number 8, an OG, Starcraft 2. Starcraft 2 is a PC game. It's a strategy game. It's phenomenal. I recently got into it because for those of you who I don't know if I didn't tell the story or whatever, but one of my friends, he's a ranked player on Starcraft, right? He has to play it every day for a certain amount of hours. And by has to, I mean, I asked him, like, do you mean like you would die or something? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, all right, fine. You know what? Fair enough. That's the way you want to look at it, but whatever. So he's a ranked player. He's really good. And for his bachelor party, we were going to do like a LAN party, a big LAN party of Starcraft 2. And since I did not want to be, the biggest loser there, because I'm competitive, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go through the whole Starcraft 2 games. Like, it's 3 games, I guess technically 4 because there's an extra adventure at the end. But I was like, I'm gonna go through all the 3 games. The story's great. It's funny because it's one of those things like, this seems more like fantasy than sci-fi in certain things, because it's a little bit of BS that gets thrown in there. But whatever, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Right? I guess you could understand it. But the gameplay is great. I've actually considered, you know what? Should I try? Like, because I passed all the games, and my friend gave me a few tips about how to be a little bit better and stuff. Should I actually try playing this online? And then I remembered, you know what? I'm just going to get my ass kicked, because the only people left playing this game are the people who actually know what they're doing. And me, I got completely annihilated. Like, we were doing the LAN party thing was basically everybody against my friend. And I thought I was doing the best I'd ever done. Like, I was like, oh man, I got 2 bases. I'm doing super good. I got all these monsters. And then all of a sudden, just like this horde of Zerg just came and destroyed everything. Like, I was like, how the hell how do you do this so fast? How do you get all these monsters, these resources? How? It doesn't seem, possible, but I guess, that's what happens when you play multiple hours a game. Anyway, it's okay for being in the top 10. I agree. I don't hate it. Number 7, we have Metroid Prime. This is the GameCube version, and I think I recently talked about this because I did the rankings, I think, of the best GameCube games or something. I don't know, but I completely agree. This is the first time that Metroid Prime switched from being 2D to being 3D, and it's first-person shooter, and it's fantastic. Honestly, it's one of my favorite games of all time that I've played, at least for the GameCube. Love it. Loved every second of it. I don't know why they decided to switch the franchise back to 2D, but they need to go back to 3D immediately and do another first-person shooter with Samus, because it's great. It's so much fun. It fits that particular hero, that particular story perfectly. I wish they'd go back to that. And yes, yeah, definitely easy top 10. Don't even have to think about it. Number 6, Deus Ex. This is a Square Enix game. I don't know much about it. Here you go. More than 20 years ago, Ironstorm transported players to a future not too far from now and created one of the best sci-fi games of all time in the process. Whoever wrote this, you're not supposed to do that. But whatever. Nah, it doesn't matter. I guess it's not actual news. But whatever. The dystopian world of 2052 may be on our horizon, but it's likely to feature all the neat cyberpunk elements introduced in Deus Ex. As JC Denton of the United Nations Anti-Terrorist Coalition, players engage in a gameplay that spans stealth action, role-playing, and adventure. Enhance Denton with unique nanotech abilities to turn him into an agent needed to combat the forces of the Triads, the Illuminati, and the Majestic 12. All right, I guess. I never played it, never really much cared for it. I guess I don't like the name, but whatever. Moving on. Number 5, we have Knights of the Old Republic. So this is the Star Wars game created by BioWare, and listen, Star Wars is a complex franchise for video games because there's some really great ones and there's some pretty terrible ones. Personally, I mean, this is considered to be like an RPG masterpiece in many ways. I get it, and the story's fantastic. It takes like place a few thousand years before the Galactic Empires and the Skywalker storyline and all that stuff, and it's great and it's a lot of fun. However, it's not my favorite Star Wars game. Like I love Battlefront, the first one, the original one. Battlefront 2 was also fun, but I like the OG Battlefront better because of the formula. I really like the Bounty Hunter, but my favorite Star Wars game has always been Republic Commando. I've talked about it many times. It's a first-person shooter, and it probably has the best AI that I've ever encountered in a video game. And I don't know what the hell those guys have done since then, but they should. Well, I haven't really heard of any other game that they've made. And honestly, I was debating this with a friend who's kind of like a computer guy, and he writes software and all that stuff. And he's like, "Yeah, those guys probably went to work for the military." Like that, most likely that they probably went to work for the military, which makes sense because they pay more probably. And for some reason we were expecting for there to be Republic Commando 2, but it never came out, and I'm still waiting for it because it was fantastic. But whatever. Anyway, sticking to this game, Yes, again, considered a RPG masterpiece in any way. And a lot of people would debate that this is the best Star Wars games of all time. And so I'm not going to be a part of this debate. It's on this list, not my list. But if I have to pick a first Star Wars game, I would put Republic Commando over this one. But whatever, not my list. Moving on. We have number 4, Doom. Doom, and this is the original 1993 Doom, which I get it. I mean, it's the OG one. It was a game changer in many ways. It's the first person shooter, so I get the historical value. I mean, but it's just, if you compare it with the ones that have come out recently, it's just, well, you know, I get it. Historical value, and the game still was fun. It holds up. I remember I should not have been playing it when I played it because my cousin had it. And we were like, this is horrifying, but it's also so much fun. Look at look at me destroying all these dudes. And so I get it. I get it because of how fun it was and the historical value. But the newer ones are objectively 100 times better than the original one. But again, historical value. It's the one that started it all. The one that started all the first-person stuff. The one that arguably changed the gaming industry forever. So fine, whatever. Moving on to number 3, Half-Life 2. Again, I've never played a Valve game. I don't think I've ever played a Valve game, but you know, everybody has always considered that you know, that one of the most begged for games of all time is Half-Life 3, and it's become a meme. It's a massive meme of like waiting for Half-Life 3. I never played 2. I know it's a first-person shooter. I just never got into it. I don't know why. I probably should. But I don't want to play a game where I'm just gonna be waiting for the sequel to come out forever. I think that was a big issue, because I know it's a meme that Half-Life 3 is never gonna come out, or where you're gonna be, I don't know, be 80 years old and you're still gonna be waiting for Half-Life 3. Gabe, the creator's still he's gonna be dead, and you're gonna be still waiting for Half-Life 3. But I don't know. Anyway, the top of this list is actually kind of weak. Number 2, you have System Shock 2. Not only did the existence of System Shock 2 give us games like Bioshock, Irrational Games, sci-fi horror FPS standouts on its own, but a must-play classic. When System Shock 2 released, it did so to multiple Game of the Year awards and praise for truly defining the first-person shooter RPG genre. So again, it's one of those, it's a historically important game. I just don't think I actually really played it, so I don't really care for it. Moving on. Well, I guess I can read you the rest of this stuff, you know, if it's considered to be that big of a deal. After awakening in a cryotube, players find themselves aboard a desolate starship surrounded by infected personnel, taunted by an artificial intelligence hell-bent on driving you mad. You'll need to utilize everything at your disposal to survive the horrors aboard the Von Vront. Luckily, that includes an assortment of weapons, abilities, and telekinetic powers. So, again, RPG first-person shooter. What more do you need to know? Moving on to number 1, according to this list of the best sci-fi video games of all time, we have Dead Space 2, which basically, if you played Dead Space, Dead Space 2 is the same thing but better. Anyway, it's similar to the way Halo 2 is better than Halo 1 pretty much in every way, and Mass Effect 2 is better than Mass Effect 1 pretty much in every way. So I get it. Okay? Why is it debatable? My kid brother's yelling that it's debatable. Why would you say it's debatable for Dead Space 2? Okay, his argument is that it's a better game, but it's less scary, which I guess, you know, once you have an upgrade in certain things, like let's say it's easier to shoot or whatever, or you have more weapons and stuff, and there's more monsters, you kind of have to make them easier to kill, so I get it. Personally, I'm not big into horror games. I already said this with Alien Isolation, so I understand the argument, but I don't know. But all right, that would be the rankings. Again, it's a survival horror game in space. So there you go. I'm torn on this list because I mean there's a lot of things missing out. You know, there's nothing for Gears of War. I said you could argue that Last of Us should be here. There's nothing for Final Fantasy is definitely fantasy, but I guess in certain ways it could be considered whatever. There's nothing for what else? There's Star Fox isn't here. Star Fox should be here. It's sci-fi, definitely sci-fi. So I'm torn. I'm very much torn. You could argue that Metal Gear is in some way sci-fi, but with the ones that we have here, I definitely would rearrange a lot of stuff. Like to me, Doom I'd keep number 3, just cause of the historical value. Maybe 4 is fine. I don't know, cause I really want Star Wars Republic Commando in there. I really want Star Wars Republic Commando, Metroid Prime, Starcraft, Bioshock. I get Portal. I don't know. So So Mass Effect 2 and Halo 2 would have to be way up, at least personally. Titanfall will have to be up. The other ones I don't really much care about. Borderlands 2 maybe, XCOM 2 maybe, Alien Isolation. So I would rearrange this a lot, and it's mostly, it probably has to do with that I didn't play a lot of the games. But number one from this list for me, number one. Okay, Halo 2, Mass Effect 2, Metroid Prime, Starcraft, Star Wars. Okay, honestly, to me, again, this is personal stuff. Is it Halo or is it Mass Effect 2? I think just because of the way the franchise went, I have to stick with Halo, because Halo's still going, it's still kicking, and it led to a lot more fun stuff. Mass Effect had a lot of issues. It fumbled kind of the ending at Mass Effect 3, and then the next game, Andromeda, was just truly terrible. So I guess just because of that, I'd stick with Halo, because franchise-wise, and I'm giving a lot of weight to that. So I'd put Halo's number one. Then Mass Effect maybe is number two. For historical value, I'd put Doom there. Doom's fine. Then if I have to stick with the ones on this list, then Star Wars, then Metroid Prime. Then I'll give you Half-Life 2, just because I know it's a big deal. I'll give it to you. Then StarCraft, then Bioshock, Portal, Titanfall, Alien Isolation, Borderlands. That's probably how I'd go. So there you go, in case you're wondering. And I feel like that's a good place to stop. It's been kind of a long one, and I can hear my kid brother cooking behind me, so I'll just stop it there. As always, like I said, any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can find me at Super Dario World, and on YouTube and on Twitch at 10 a.m. So you just, be a part of the chat. You can jump in, ask me questions and stuff. I'm considering doing the NFL stuff maybe on Thursday. Let me know what you think, because again, the issue is that I don't know shit about fuck. Eric, do I know shit about fuck? If you couldn't hear him, he just said I don't know shit about fuck. So that's that. But that's it. That's everybody right now. So who knows? Considering it, let me know. If you want to send me something privately, you can always do that on Instagram at DarioSDW and at Super Dario World. So always thank you for joining me, and I'll see you again next time.